Hi everybody. Thank you for taking time to join us today. I'm Ted, and I'll be presenting findings from our paper by the same title. Our working paper is available on arXiv, and I'll have a link to it at the end of the slides. So at this point, I think it goes without saying, the dangers of climate change is something that needs to be addressed. An important part of this is understanding and overcoming the somewhat perplexing social and political resistances to climate change mitigation policies. One of the main themes in this area of research is about how climate politics relates to political polarization. Here, researchers have found that partisan identity predicts positions on the climate issue. I took this photo at a climate march in Helsinki about a year ago, and you can see that even here in Finland, where political polarization is relatively low, climate politics is wrapped up in partisan politics. In our study, we focus on this kind of alignment of preferences across different topics, including preferences about political parties, because it is one of the most dangerous manifestations of polarization. This notion draws from extensive literatures in political science and sociology, but the basic intuition, I think, is straightforward. So let's begin by considering a society with 4 individuals. They all have preferences over what they wear. So for simplicity's sake, let's say they can choose to wear purple or green pants and purple or green shirts. In the first case, often referred to as one with cross-cutting cleavages, preferences over pants and preferences over shirts are not aligned. This means that people are likely to be able to find common ground despite having disagreements. So for example, here we see, if we look at the first 2 individuals on the left, we see that even though they disagree on shirt color, they both prefer green pants. In this kind of society, even if there is within issue polarization, the existence of multiple cross-cutting cleavages makes it easier to reach agreements through other shared interests. Consider now, instead, a society where preferences over pants and shirts are aligned. Individuals who prefer purple shirts also prefer purple pants, and the same goes for green shirts and green pants. So in this case, the greens and the purples are diametrically opposed with no potential for coming to an agreement. In the real world, where there are many more issues, many of which have higher stakes than the color of your clothing, you can imagine how alignment can quickly entrench in-group identities, leading to the kind of hyperpolarization that we see now in some countries. Our goal in this study, then, is to understand how climate politics aligns with several other presently salient political topics, and to see if we can identify some sorts of patterns there. Focusing on the Finnish national and European elections from 2019, we take a network approach to studying topic alignment using Twitter data. The idea here is that instead of the more commonly found survey-based approaches, our approach lets us study polarization, which is necessarily a relational phenomenon, in a natural setting where groups emerge from communication patterns among individuals. What we do is begin by collecting tweets across 11 different topics over the election period using Twitter's filter stream API. I won't go into the exact filter terms in detail here, but our paper has a detailed list. We picked a total of 11 topics. In addition to climate change, of course, there are 4 issues that were important during the Finnish elections: immigration, social security, economic policy, and education policy. And we also included 6 of the largest political parties as topics as well. From this data, we extracted all retweets based on specific topics to create what are essentially agreement networks. For this purpose, we use pure retweets, which research shows to be used as signals of endorsement or of agreement. So for our purpose of identifying preference-based groupings, this is more appropriate than using quote retweets or other types of Twitter communication networks. So for each of these topic agreement networks, we use the Matisse partitioning algorithm to obtain 2 groups by minimizing intergroup edge cuts. So what I show here on the screen is the network for the climate issue in the month right before the parliamentary elections. Aside from a few of these large hubs, which you'll see don't matter in a second, the partitions pass the eye test. And so because our network is an agreement network, this means what we've obtained here are two groups with the lowest level of intergroup agreement for each of our 11 topics. In the Matisse algorithm, we kept the balance between the two groups at reasonable levels, so we won't get overly constrained or trivial partitions. And we did sensitivity checks and find that our findings, our results, are robust to a reasonable range of balance factors. So again, we have 11 topic agreement networks, each with two groups. Our next step is to quantify alignment between topics. To do so, we took, for every topic pair, the node-aligned multiplex network and compared partitions across network layers using the normalized mutual information. So the figure on the slide again illustrates this procedure. This network is a union of the climate network you saw before and the immigration network. The nodes that are colored are the ones that appear in both layers, meaning that they're ones that remain in the node-aligned multiplex network. Because there are two layers, each with two groups, nodes can be classified into 4 groups now. The purple and the green, kind of on the left and the right, they still show the division of the climate issue. But within the purple and green groups, we can see the darker or lighter colors indicating positions toward immigration. So for this specific topic pair, alignment is relatively high. What we see is there's a high overlap in the group memberships, right? So purple and light greens are much more common than dark green and light purple. We quantify this kind of alignment using the normalized mutual information, which is often used as a measure of similarity between network partitions. Here on the screen are 2 examples showing the performance of the normalized mutual information for our purposes. The figure on the right is the same climate immigration multiplex network that you just saw, but here with the non-aligned nodes dropped. On the left is the climate economy multiplex network. Visually, we see that the alignment for the network on the left is much lower. There's a relatively balance between the darks and the lights for both purple and green, especially when we compare it to the figure on the right, which is again predominantly dark purple and light green. The normalized mutual information picks this up well with the 0.16 for the left and 0.51 for the right. We conducted this procedure for all topic pairs across 3 different time periods during the elections and obtained the following results. This here, of course, is a lot of information. And for those of you interested, I point you to our paper, but I'll highlight a few of our findings. And again, the figure on the screen are the, for every topic pair in all 3 periods, their normalized mutual information scores. So first, partisan sorting, which is a term for alignment between issue and partisanship. It's strong. Partisan sorting is strong, but it's limited to specific political domains. Most pertinent to our study is the fact that climate politics aligns strongly with this populist versus universalist political spectrum that's becoming more salient today. In Finland, this means the Finns party versus the Greens in the left. So if you look at any of the 3 figures, the top row is climate alignment with the different other different topics. If you look at the Finns, the Greens on the left, those are the 3 brightest spots for climate, right? Indicating the highest alignment. And as a part of this localized topic alignment in this new political domain, we see that climate and immigration, as shown before, is also strongly aligned. So you can see this, the first and second rows are climate and immigration's alignment. They both, again, strongly align with this Finns party, the Green party, and the Left Alliance party. For all of our topic pairs, if we look at the figures, this grouping of this climate immigration, populist, green, left political parties have the highest alignment scores, and they're, again, the brightest spots on these figures. So what does this mean in the grand scheme of climate polarization? Well, the bad news is that there indeed is strong alignment between the climate issue and other important topics. And while I didn't get into the specific temporal trends, these findings appear to persist over time. The good news is that maybe the bright spot is that this alignment is localized to this specific political dimension. This suggests that in plural societies with strong multi-party systems, maybe Finland as an example, other sources of political contention remain important and can offset fully aligned and entrenched group identities. And I'll leave you here today on this bright note. And again, I want to thank everybody for taking time to join us here. A link to our paper, which contains a much more in-depth discussion of this presentation, it is shown here. My contact information is also available now on the slides. We would love to hear from you with any feedback or questions that we don't get the chance to discuss today. Thank you very much.